We live in a time of shadows. Information is everywhere, yet true wisdom feels harder to find. There's constant noise, endless content, surveillance, and a growing sense that unseen forces are shaping our lives. Corporations and agencies track our every move. Algorithms influence what we see, what we believe, and even who we become. It's difficult to ignore that this system is designed to keep us distracted and disempowered, while the current rulers of society maintain control. What looks like a convenient digital world is, in many ways, an invisible prison. Beneath all of it is a growing spiritual emptiness, a quiet crisis that many of us refuse to face. But what if I told you that a children's anime from 1999 saw all of this coming? In this video, we'll explore how Digimon Adventure predicted the rise of digital dependency, the illusion of choice in an algorithm-driven world, and the spiritual void that follows. Growing up, I watched this show every afternoon after school and on Saturday mornings. Looking back on it, yes, the English dub was full of cheesy jokes and awkward edits that took away the tension from the original Japanese version. The Japanese version had more mature writing and dialogue, and when I revisited this show as an adult, I was blown away by the deep spiritual messaging that was there. I saw something that I hadn't noticed as a kid. Beneath the monsters and battles was a story rich with symbolic meaning. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was a reflection of our world today, and most importantly, a guide for how to face it. We'll break down these meaningful concepts to show how each villain represents a different stage of personal and societal darkness. Each conflict in the story becomes a metaphor for modern struggles, from ego and trauma to disconnection and control. The series explores several symbolic themes that mirror the human journey through the digital age, with the villains all representing different aspects of society we must face, like the shadow self and the fear that grows from disconnection and division. Also, the ego's craving for attention and status, a mindset that now drives much of online culture through influencers, streamers, celebrities, and constant self-promotion. We also see energy vampires that feed on hidden pain and unresolved trauma, showing how fear and insecurity can be manipulated by media moguls, authority figures, or even those closest to us. We see the fractured self, where unhealed wounds create the inner chaos and harmful power structures, much like how the current rulers of our society govern their sector of the world. And finally, we see spiritual despair, the belief that nothing matters and nothing can be redeemed, which echoes the growing sense of nihilism and emptiness that many people feel today. And what's so extraordinary is that the show doesn't just present these themes, it also offers insights into how these problems can be faced and healed. And we're going to explore all of that further in this video. These villains weren't just fantasy, they were symbols of real psychological and spiritual forces shaping our lives. And Digimon Adventure wasn't just another monster anime. It was a story about transformation, about becoming whole. We'll also explore why no other Digimon season, except for the third season, Digimon Tamers, reached the same symbolic and emotional depth. While the series began as a low-budget project meant to sell toys, its early success allowed the writers to push for something more profound. Often dismissed as a Pokemon clone, Digimon actually came from a different lineage. It evolved from the Tamagotchi trend and was targeted toward boys. Still, while riding on the wave of Pokemon's popularity, it quietly delivered one of the most meaningful stories of the early digital age. Let's dive in. The digital world in Digimon Adventure can be seen as more than just a fantasy setting. It works as a symbol for the inner world, similar to what Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud described as the unconscious. This is the part of ourselves that we don't always understand, where our instincts, fears, and deeper potential are stored. The characters in the show enter the world and face strange creatures, challenges, and environments. These can be understood as symbols of their inner struggles. Each obstacle they face is part of their personal journey, helping them grow and understand who they are. In today's world, we also live in a kind of digital space. We are surrounded by screens, content, and algorithms that shape how we see ourselves and others. Many people spend hours doom scrolling through news and social media, absorbing negativity without even realizing it. Some fall into echo chambers where they only hear opinions that match their own, which can limit growth and increase division. Others deal with what's often called brain rot, a kind of mental fatigue or dullness caused by constant stimulation and lack of meaningful reflection, and from watching, well, brain rot content. These patterns can lead to feelings of disconnection, anxiety, or confusion about one's purpose. In this way, the digital world in Digimon Adventure mirrors our own condition. Just like the characters are forced to confront strange and sometimes frightening realities, we must also face the parts of ourselves that we avoid. The show reminds us that growth begins by turning inward, facing our fears, and breaking through the distractions. By doing this, we can reconnect with our true selves and begin to evolve into who we are meant to be and change the world around us. We see that each Digimon partner in the series represents a part of the child's inner self. These companions are more than just allies. They're analogies to real-world spirit guides, helping the children grow emotionally and spiritually. In spiritual traditions, a spirit guide is seen as a supportive presence that helps a person navigate challenges and discover their deeper potential. For those who prefer a practical view, these guides can be understood as expressions of our conscience or inner wisdom that encourage growth and healing. From the start, each child meets a Digimon who is waiting for them. These Digimon reflect the children's personalities and struggles, evolving as the children mature. For example, Tai is bold but sometimes reckless. His partner Agumon balances that impulsiveness with steady strength, guiding Tai toward responsible leadership. Yamato, or Matt in the English dub, is quieter and guarded, while Gabumon offers loyal support that helps Yamato accept vulnerability and connection. Sora gives love easily but struggles to receive it. Her partner Biomon's affectionate nature teaches her that love is a two-way flow. Koshiro, or Izzy in the English dub, is the group's curious and intellectual mind, always seeking answers. His Digimon Tentamon grounds him emotionally, reminding him that some things are felt rather than explained. Mimi values material beauty and comfort but also has deep empathy. Palmon nurtures that compassion into quiet strength. Joe, the oldest, carries anxiety and fear but finds confidence through Gomamon's playful spirit. The youngest, Takeru, or TK in the English dub, is pure-hearted and innocent. Patamon stands with him as he learns that hope grows through facing pain and challenges. The Digivice, the device each child carries, symbolizes this inner connection. It acts like a spiritual amplifier, reflecting their growth and aligning their inner will with their Digimon partner's power. When the children act with courage, love, or sincerity, the qualities represented by their crests, the Digivice activates. It does not force change, but shows the truth of their readiness to evolve. This reflects the idea that true growth comes from within, supported by inner guidance and conscious intention. In this way, Digimon and their partners mirror the real-world journey of self-discovery, healing, and evolving into higher versions of ourselves. In Digimon, evolution or digivolution happens through several stages, each with Japanese and English names. They can only happen if the chosen children demonstrate growth and maturity. It begins with the baby stage, also called fresh in English. This stage represents the beginning of life, innocence, and potential before awareness develops. Next is Baby 2, or in training, where the Digimon starts to learn and adapt, and it's the stage that the children first meet their Digimon at in the first episode. This stage symbolizes early growth and the first steps toward understanding the self. After that comes the child stage, called Rookie in English. Here the Digimon gains more independence and begins to face challenges. Much like a child, learning to navigate the world, and this is what all the chosen children's Digimon evolve to in the first episode. The next stage is Adult, or Champion in English. This is when the Digimon grows stronger and starts to overcome inner fears. Like an adult, stepping out into the real world, ready to face difficult challenges in adult life. It represents a key moment in emotional growth and maturity. Following that is Perfect, known as Ultimate in English. At this stage, the Digimon takes on more mythological and powerful forms, symbolizing deeper moral courage and the ability to face complex challenges. The final major stage is Ultimate, which is called Mega in English. This form shows the Digimon at its highest power and spiritual wisdom, reflecting a connection to the higher self. The higher self is the part of a person that is wise, compassionate, and fully aware. Spiritually, it represents the true essence beyond fear and ego. Psychologically, it is the integrated self, where thoughts, feelings, and actions align with one's deepest values and potential. In real life, people evolve when they face difficult truths, take responsibility, and heal emotional wounds. Just like the Digimon become stronger and more majestic through each stage of Digivolution, humans grow by becoming closer to their highest and most authentic self. In Digimon Adventure, the main villains are more than just enemies that they need to defeat. Each one represents a shadow aspect of the human psyche and of modern society. Their actions throughout the story are symbolic, revealing deeper truths about what we face in the real world. These characters embody the psychological wounds and societal dysfunctions that can keep people stuck, isolated, or lost. Devimon, the first major antagonist, represents separation and fear. In the story, he spreads black gears across the digital world, infecting Digimon and causing them to turn violent. He divides the group and tries to weaken them by targeting their sense of unity. In psychological terms, he symbolizes the illusion of division, the idea that we are fundamentally separate from each other. This shows up in society as tribalism, racism, nationalism, and other ideologies rooted in fear and exclusion. Devimon feeds on the energy created when people feel isolated or threatened, and this reflects how our real-world systems can become addicted to conflict and separation. The antidote to Devimon's influence is connection, coming back to a sense of shared humanity and collective strength. So Devimon is ultimately defeated by Angemon, the evolved adult or champion form of Patamon, and it was done through an act of pure self-sacrifice. Angemon channels the collective energy of the group to deliver a final blow, knowing it will cost him his life. This moment carries deep spiritual symbolism: light overcoming darkness, unity defeating fear, and the angelic archetype sacrificing itself for the greater good. It echoes mythological and religious stories of divine intervention and martyrdom, where spiritual evolution requires the unalivement of the ego. After this sacrifice, Patamon is reborn, but what's remarkable is that he retains the memory of who he once was and what he did against Devimon. This suggests a deeper truth, that love and strong emotional bonds, like the one between Takeru and Patamon, allow the soul to transcend unalivement and carry its wisdom into the new life. Rebirth, in this context, isn't a reset, but a continuation. It's a reminder that the light that we nurture within us can survive even the darkest trials and can come back stronger. Etemon is the second major antagonist, and he represents ego, performance, and distraction. In the series, he's obsessed with being seen, constantly performing with a spotlight on him, literally singing and dancing in the middle of battle. He builds a fake network to spy on and manipulate the heroes while pretending to be in control. In society, this mirrors influencer culture, clout chasing, and the addiction to status. Many people now live for the image, curating identities online for attention while losing touch with who they really are. Etemon's world is flashy but empty, loud but meaningless. He represents the danger of living only for applause and external validation, and his downfall comes when the characters begin to reconnect with their inner truth and quiet strength. Tai's journey during the battle with Etemon reflects a deeper inner struggle between authentic leadership and performative control. You see, Etemon was a projection of Tai's shadow. As the group's unofficial leader, Tai begins to confuse pressure with guidance and tries to force Agumon to evolve into his next form, after adult, known as the perfect or ultimate stage. This act is not grounded in love, trust, or readiness, but in fear and desperation. The result is distorted evolution. We get Greymon evolving into Skull Greymon, an unstable and destructive form that mirrors what happens when growth is forced without emotional maturity. In the story, each child found their own crest, a strength that is most unique to them in the group. Tai carries the crest of courage, but in this moment he mistakes recklessness for bravery. Instead of standing firm with compassion, he pushes forward blindly, trying to control the outcome without understanding the emotional readiness of his partner. Think about when we see this in real life. This mirrors how some parents force their children into rigid paths like demanding academic perfection or emotional toughness without creating a safe space for expression. It also happens when someone, overwhelmed by the pressure to succeed, turns to unhealthy coping mechanisms or toxic ambition. These forced versions of growth can create people who look strong on the outside, but are filled with rage, emptiness, or anxiety on the inside. Skullgreymon is like the overworked executive who lashes out, the tough parent who never learned to nurture, or the influencer who crafts a persona so well they forget their real self. Tai's mistake becomes a turning point, showing that true evolution requires patience, emotional clarity, and a relationship built on trust, not force. And through that trust and authentic courage, Tai was able to get Greymon to digivolve into Metal Greymon. Up next, we have Vamdemon, or Myotismon in the English dub. He's one of the most complex villains in the show. He embodies suppressed pain, control, and manipulation. His presence is gothic, surrounded by bats, shadows, and secrets. He feeds on fear and exploits others through secrecy and domination. In real life, this reflects the way trauma is often buried instead of healed. He symbolizes how institutions, media, and authoritarian figures manipulate people by preying on fear, shame, and unprocessed emotion. His desire to destroy the mysterious eighth child, Hikari, Tai's younger sister, who represents light, is especially symbolic. Light here stands for inner awareness, compassion, and spiritual clarity. In rejecting the light, like a vampire, Vamdemon represents those forces in our world that fear healing and consciousness because they depend on suffering in order to stay in power. Interestingly, Vamdemon's castle is adorned with Masonic symbols and occult references. In one scene, he invokes the phrase, Talan Ukbar Orbis Tertius, a direct reference to Jorge Luis Borges' story about an imagined world that becomes real through belief. I don't think this is just background flavor. It suggests that Digimon, and by extension our reality, is shaped by imagination, language, and thought. The digital world becomes a metaphor for the collective unconscious, where data and memory are just different forms of belief and emotion. What's more, the presence of occult symbolism mirrors patterns we see in the real world. Many of the elite in our society, like the energy vampires in the music industry, display similar interests in esoteric knowledge and hidden power structures. It raises the question, are these symbols just aesthetic, or do they point to a deeper understanding of how reality is manipulated through belief, image, and control? One of the most powerful arcs involves Tailmon, or Gatomon in the English dub, who is revealed to be Hikari's partner. Unlike the others, her default form is not child but adult level, and though it's not explained in the show, you can assume that it's because she was forced to grow up too quickly under Vamdemon's abuse. Her trauma caused her to bypass natural emotional development, which mirrors real-world situations where children in toxic or neglectful environments take on adult roles too early. They harden emotionally to survive, often becoming guarded or mistrustful. Tailmon's arc is about reconnecting to innocence and healing the inner child. When she finally meets Hikari, the presence of light and unconditional acceptance begins to soften her armor. Wizardmon, a quiet and loyal figure, sees this bond and chooses to protect it. He represents the archetype of the magician, someone who bridges worlds and understands spiritual truth to help with transformation. He sacrifices himself to protect Tailmon and Hikari, and this sacrifice allows Tailmon to evolve into Anjawamon. This is not only a change in form, it marks the healing of her soul and the restoration of divine energy. Anjawamon represents the return of compassion and the divine feminine principle. Then come the Dark Masters, each one ruling over a distorted part of the digital world. They represent fractured elements of the psyche and corrupted structures in society. Metal Seadramon rules the oceans and symbolizes emotional overwhelm and chaos. His attacks come from below, sudden and uncontrollable, just like repressed emotions or trauma responses that resurface without warning. In society, this is reflected in rage culture, constant overstimulation, and cycles of fear-based thinking. Emotional repression builds pressure until it erupts. often harming others or ourselves. Pinocchimon, or Puppetmon, controls the forest but acts like a lonely, angry child. He uses strings to control others because he never learned how to build genuine connection. His arrested development stems from early emotional pain, and his cruelty is a mask for deep isolation. This reflects real-world patterns of emotional immaturity, where people hurt others because they were never taught how to love or trust. His forest of puppets represent a society where people are manipulated, going through the motions, and disconnected from their true will. Mugendramon, or Machinedramon in the English dub, governs a lifeless metallic city. He is the embodiment of cold control where everything runs on logic and fear. His world has no softness or humanity. In the real world, this is what we see in technocratic systems that value efficiency over empathy. Surveillance states, data-driven governance, and artificial intelligence can create environments where people become numbers. This villain warns of a future where technology replaces spirit and control replaces community. Paimon, or Piedmon in the English dub, rules the air and the realm of illusion. He is theatrical and deceptive, turning people into keychains, objects that are carried, owned, and silenced. He represents the breakdown of meaning in a world full of conflicting narratives. His presence reflects the digital age's struggle with truth, where deep fakes, disinformation, and algorithmic manipulation can make it hard to know what's even real. He mirrors the psychological fragmentation caused by living in a world that feels more like a simulation than a shared reality. Finally, after defeating the Dark Masters, the Digidestined, or the Chosen Children, meet Apocalymon, who embodies nihilism and despair. He does not just want to destroy the heroes, he wants to destroy everything. He claims that because he was abandoned and forgotten, nothing should exist at all. His voice echoes the hopelessness many people feel today. Depression, anxiety, and existential dread are rising, especially in younger generations. Apocalymon is the part of the psyche that gives up, that believes nothing has meaning. He's upset that he's not able to digivolve, much like how a depressed person feels like they can't evolve into a higher version of themselves. His defeat comes not through violence but through meaning. The children reclaim their strength by remembering their journey, their bond, and their purpose. They remember that they each give each other strength. So these villains are mirrors of the inner struggles people face every day and the outer systems that shape our lives. The message of Digimon Adventure is not that darkness can be destroyed, but that it can be faced, integrated, and transcended. When we recognize the shadow, we can begin to heal. And through that healing, we can evolve, not just as individuals, but as a society. In today's world, we are surrounded by digital avatars, curated identities, and algorithms that shape what we see and how we think. It can feel like we are drifting, scrolling through endless content without purpose. Like the Chosen Children or the Digidestined in the series, many of us are being called to face both the outer noise and the inner confusion. At the root of much of this is a spiritual disconnection. People are struggling with addiction, loneliness, burnout, and apathy because they have lost touch with who they really are. Reconnecting with that inner truth is not just a fantasy story. It is something many are being invited to do right now. Takeru and Hikari, the youngest of the group, are deeply connected to the spiritual realm. In many traditions, young children are seen as being closer to the source of all life. Their hearts are open, unclouded by fear or ego. This is why their crests are hope and light. These are not just personal traits, but spiritual energies that move through those who remain gentle, honest, and trusting. During the battle against Vamdemon, this connection becomes vital. When fear grips the team and darkness spreads, it's the quiet strength of Takeru and Hikari that shine through. Their Digimon who evolve into angelic forms, Anjamon and Anjawomon, are a reflection of their spiritual clarity, and their presence turns the tide of the battle. Koshiro also plays a key role. He deciphers a hidden prophecy buried in ancient data, revealing how the Digimon can reach their ultimate forms or mega forms in the English dub. The discovery combined with the light and hope embodied by Takeru and Hikari create the breakthrough needed for their older brothers Digimon to reach their mega forms of War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. Throughout the show, each member brings something essential, and it is through this unity that the digital world and the real world are saved. This moment shows that real transformation happens when we grow together. Innocence brings clarity, knowledge and learning learning guides the way, and love fuels change and transformation. Healing begins within, but it finds its power when it's shared. In the real world, unity works the same way. Lasting change, whether in our communities, relationships, or society, does not happen in isolation. We each carry a part of that solution, and it is by bringing our strengths together that we create momentum. When we listen, collaborate, and support one another, we build trust. That trust becomes the foundation for healing, growth, and collective progress. Just like in the story, transformation in our world requires shared effort, mutual respect, and the belief that we are stronger when we help each other grow. Later seasons like Digimon Adventure 02, which came out immediately after Digimon Adventure ended, and Digimon Tri, which came out in the 2010s, struggled to reach the same level of emotional connection or story quality as the first season because of corporate mandates, marketing priorities, and interference in the creative process. These productions focused more on appealing to trends and selling products than on telling meaningful stories. There was also a different team of writers. As a result, they lost the emotional and symbolic depth found in the first Adventure series. The only season that I would say came close or in some ways surpassed the spiritual depth of the first season is the third season, Digimon Tamers. The creative direction of later seasons was affected by disagreements behind the scenes. Chiaki J. Konaka, the writer for Digimon Tamers, introduced a darker, more psychological tone focusing on deep themes and character growth. In Digimon Adventure 02, the Dark Ocean storyline was a bold exploration of subconscious fears and societal pressures, which Konaka wrote, but was cut short or altered due to corporate pressures and concerns about marketability. Konaka openly criticized both Toei Animation and Bandai for prioritizing commercial interests over creative freedom and storytelling depth. The original Adventure season was written by a team including Satoru Nishizonu and Katsuyuki Shimisawa, who helped craft the Jungian and mythic framework. They parted ways with the franchise due to increasing interference from producers and executives wanting to steer the series toward merchandising and trend-driven content. This split between artistic vision and business goals contributed to the uneven quality and spiritual decline in subsequent seasons, especially in Digimon Adventure 02. The original series used themes rooted in Jungian psychology, spiritual transformation, and mythic storytelling. These elements created a strong foundation for the character's growth and made the journey feel timeless and personal. In the newer series, this structure was replaced by visual spectacle and fast-paced conflict. We even see this in the 2020 Digimon Adventure reboot. Character development was often rushed or shallow, and the deeper symbolism was no longer a priority. This shift reflects a broader pattern in media. Stories that once offered insight and reflection can be turned into content designed for consumption. In this kind of environment, even powerful stories can lose their original purpose and become part of an economy that values attention over meaning. The characters in Digimon reflect the challenge and growth we all experience in life. They show us what it means to face our fears and become our truest selves. What would it look like for you to evolve into your highest version? Take a moment to look inward. I would say Digimon Adventure is more than a childhood memory. It offers a guide for spiritual growth in a world shaped by technology and control. The series shows that darkness is not overcome by force alone, but by becoming the best version of yourself. Each crest represents a truth that lives within us. Qualities like courage, friendship, love, knowledge, sincerity, reliability, hope, and light are not just traits but pathways to transformation. In a time when many of us feel isolated or uncertain, the story reminds us that light and hope are real forces that can guide us forward. And to learn more about deep psychological and spiritual topics and how the world affects you, then check out this video right here. Thanks for watching.